in the tone of his maternal grandmother telling me to get him out of there. Well, at that point, Casey looked up and his mind was made, and he said, "I want out of here. I want out."
Do you sense that...
Now, Mr. Farnsworth stuck his head in a second time before he did say that. I want to correct that just a little bit. So we did have 2 interruptions from Mr. Farnsworth, and I told him to close the door again, that we were still working on it and talking to Casey. So we had a second interrupt from Mr. Farnsworth, and then Casey finally did decisively say, "I want out of here." And I said, "That's it, fine." Farnsworth stuck his head in again about that time, and then we had our confrontation.
And that was rather heated.
Yeah, it escalated rather quickly. I informed Mr. Farnsworth that we were leaving and that I was taking my son. And he said, "No, you're not. We have a contract and agreement with the custodial parent, and if necessary, I will call the police." About that time, about 2 or 3 staff members showed up, male, and stood behind Mr. Farnsworth and down the hall and blocked the door. So I was getting threatened with law enforcement in a small Utah community, which one of their staff members, from my understanding, is a former police official there. I don't know if he was the chief, but he's higher up. And there I am. And I have several staff members in Farnsworth between myself and the door. So I informed Mr. Farnsworth that I did have an attorney, and that in addition to having an attorney, I produced my support and visitation agreement and presented it to him, and I told him that I showed him the clause in the support and visitation agreement, which was written by a court order in the state of Oregon, and it stated that I have custody, or I have visitation rather, in even-numbered years, starting on Friday of spring break, and that in addition to that, further back in the document, either parent, no money can be spent out of his education fund without the agreement of both of his parents, and I had informed him that I had also cut off all the money. So there was no more money to pay for this, and that I had a court order which emphatically stated that I had visitation on the start of spring break, which happened to be that particular moment. And Mr. Farnsworth still remained confrontational and said, "We need to hash this out legally." And I says, "Well," and he says, "You need to talk to my lawyer." And I says, "No, you can talk to my lawyer. I have him standing by on the phone." I turned my cell phone on, hit the button, put him on with Mr. Tom Burton, handed him the phone. I didn't tell him the name of the attorney. I just handed him the phone, and Mr. Farnsworth said, "Oh, Mr. Burton." And he walked out of the room and walked down the hall. He came back about, I would think about 3 minutes later. He was very reconciliatory, and he said, "We've decided to let you leave."
Oh, good luck. Bye.
Take a break here. You're Carla, right?
Right.
And Carla, I've been your pastor for about 5 years or so now, I think, and so I've got to know you pretty well. Mm-hmm. Would you share a little bit of the incident that we're talking about? When did you first hear about it? Yeah. And then I understand you did extensive investigation as well, so tell me about that.
Well, I've known Casey Mike and I started going together. I think Casey was about 9 when I met him. And then, so I just wanted to kind of clarify how long
Sure.
I've known Casey. And, you know, he's 17 now. But anyway, what happened was, Mike said, you know, but Casey didn't, he wasn't teary-eyed or anything. I think Mike was crying so much that he couldn't even see. But Casey was very calm. And
Would it be fair to say from your perspective that he was frightened? Oh, that maybe this wouldn't happen and he'd be in trouble?
No, he wasn't frightened. He didn't even assume that this was going to happen. I think he thought we were there just to see him.
Yeah. And if he said he wanted to go, then he's in trouble.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
think he was still thinking like, boy, if this doesn't work, I'm in big trouble.
Yep.
I think that's exactly what it was. So that's what I noticed. And then one thing, like I will go back to when they were in the cafeteria. The thing that hit me the hardest was the mind stuff. I had no idea it was going to be this big of a deal. I was just focusing on the abuse, but when we walked in there too, it was just like, it was crazy. Mike can't hear very well, but I can hear, and there's no talking. A lot of the places, there's no talking. They stand in line, there's no talking. There's no talking, and a loud, monotone voice is talking. And I asked the lady, I said, what is that? And she said, oh, that's some self-help tapes. It's not normal self-help tape. It was like a brainwashing tape, which Casey told us later on. He said, there's some kids that can completely repeat that, the whole thing.
Subliminal
Yeah.
teaching going on.
Yes. And he says it happens at every single meal. And he also said that when that tape stops, sometimes there'll be a break, and they like that. But Carr Farnsworth demands that tape continually plays, or another one goes right on. But it was weird stuff they were talking about. I don't know what it was, but it was like, it did not make sense.
Mike said they used the word terrestrial and celestial.
Yeah, it was that kind of stuff. It was like out of body kind of.
Those are actually definitive terms for levels of heaven within Mormon theology.
It could have been.
They see 3 levels of heaven.
Well, it might, and another thing I've read about too is that they do use, in the seminars, is not so much maybe the Mormon, but it's called Life Spring, and it's a form of brainwashing. And it's paraphysical, and it's removing your mind out of your body, and it's that kind of stuff. So, and then I'm not real hip on all the words and all that, all the jargon, but it is that kind of spacey stuff.
Subliminal
Subliminal
teaching,
teaching, yeah. But that was really, really upsetting to me. And also the kids, when they came in, they were using a little bit of the jargon stuff. They had it down too. And totally the mom and the son.
If you'd heard it enough times, you probably would have it down, whether you wanted to or not.
Yeah, so that was the thing that just freaked me out about